Hello, humans. This is Brandon with episode 46 of Not a Robot Podcast's DC Comics Review Show, the world's greatest podcast about the world's greatest heroes. They keep coming back, so I'll introduce them. As always, I've got my amazing co-host here with me, Rob.
How are you now?
Wonderful. And Josh.
Hello, humans.
This week we'll be covering Detective Comics number 1037, Wonder Woman 773, Batman the Detective number 3, Batman Urban Legends number 4, Justice League Last Ride number 2, Joker number 4, Joker Presents The Puzzle Box number 1, which is our digital exclusive title, Future State Gotham number 2, and Rorschach number 9. Before we get going, I just want to say thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who help out with $1 or more a month. And thank you listeners too. Like, download, and share our episodes so we get more listeners and can bring you more content. You can get access to our Patreon and the rest of the Not a Robot Podcast shows at notarobotpodcast.com. But before we get into our books this week, what's new with you guys this week? What news do we have to share?
Well, I was reading something this morning, and I'm just trying to find it now. But the, I guess CGI editor or director of CGI for Ant-Man and the Wasp and Men in Black International, I think it was, has joined the Green Lantern movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's going to be good. Because awesome. I thought the CGI in Ant-Man was friggin' on point.
It definitely was.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, by the time this comes out, we'll also have a bonus episode out for all you lovely listeners out there. DC, if you didn't know, has released their Pride special issue this week. And we're going to have a special episode covering that, as well as a Marvel special episode covering Marvel Voices Pride in a couple of weeks. So DC 1 should be out now, and keep a lookout for Marvel coming soon.
Yeah, you guys are recording the Pride episode today, aren't you?
We are.
So look forward to hearing it, man. All right, do you guys watch the Superman and Lois TV show?
Unfortunately, not yet, but I really want to.
Yeah, I haven't caught up on it.
Yeah.
It's literally the best CW show ever made. Not just superheroes, but it's literally the best one that they've ever made. At least on par with Supernatural. But it really is fantastic. And anyway, in the last episode, Morgan Edge, and this is wildly different than the comics, but in the TV show, Morgan Edge has come out and he's actually Kryptonian. Now that wasn't something I was expecting. Are either one of you aware of any storyline in DC where that was the case?
Not that I know of.
No.
Me either. So it's a totally different route there, but everything is great in this show. I like to complain about CW and Greg Berlanti, but this is fantastic. What else? Just announced Fables is coming back to DC Black Label.
Sweet.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man.
I guess they're going to be doing crossovers in the Black Label universe, too, with all kinds of different heroes in DC, so that could get really interesting.
That would be really awesome. It was a Vertigo imprint, wasn't it?
Yeah, originally. According to literally every issue we read this week, Static is coming. We finally have confirmation Milestone is actually going to be printed. It's not going to be pushed off again. It's in motion, so I'm excited. And also, going back to TV, or at least Netflix, the He-Man trailer is out. Go out and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so goddamn excited about this thing. It's not even funny, man. I grew up loving He-Man. I used to be able to do some of the voices, like for Merman and shit. It was just, it was my joint, man. So everybody go out and support that one so it stays on TV. Also, comic news. Harley Quinn, the animated series. In between season 2 and 3, there's a little bit of story, and they're going to be releasing a comic that covers that called Harley Quinn, the Animated Series, the Eat, Bang, Kill Tour. So that should be pretty fun. That title was announced back at the Comics Pro event, and so were 10 other titles. Puzzle Box and Crush and Lobo were announced there, so it's a very good indication that we're going to see all of these titles, or at least most of them. The most recent confirmed as of yesterday afternoon is that Deathstroke Inc. will definitely be coming. Josh Williamson is writing that. And check this out. It is actually going to be modeled after the Batman Inc. from Grant Morrison.
Oh, damn.
And Slade and team will be somewhat good guys. They're going to be working for an organization called Trust. And of course, that's an acronym for some shit. I don't know what it is yet, but that's who they're working for. So the only ones that are left that were announced are Elseworld, DC Vampires, Robin and Batman, Legend of Batman, Nubia and the Amazons, and DC Middle Ages. DC Middle Ages? Are we just gonna get stupid ass stories of Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and the Flash, etc., just set back in the 14th century?
Didn't they have an Elseworlds book about that? I remember having an action figure when I was like 7 of Knight Batman from Camelot or something like that.
Yeah,
I remember there's Pirate Batman too.
Definitely visited.
That's a story I love.
What's that?
I said there's Pirate Batman too. That's a story I love.
Oh, yeah. Well, we saw all kinds of different Batmen in the Bruce Wayne Road Home. Oh, you guys don't remember that?
Oh no!
Oh no, I definitely do.
Yeah.
I just this was another Pirate Batman from like an old Batman annual where like he and Selena Kyle and Robin are like basically on their own pirate ship, and they're just going around and having like swashbuckling adventures. It's kind of cool, and like Joker is like this crazy almost like Spanish pirate type of character. It's really crazy, but it's a really fun read.
That's awesome.
That does sound awesome.
I was
see if I can
waiting for
find
you
it.
to get done talking so I could say the word swashbuckling, but you beat me to it.
Yeah, here I just found it. It's called Batman Leatherwing. If you can find an old copy of it, it's Detective Comics Annual number 7 from 1994.
Damn.
94. Got it. Okay, I'll look it up. Nice. All right, that's all I've got for news. Anybody else got anything?
I mean, I had one thing. I guess it came out a little while ago, but I don't know if we mentioned it or not. But I think we talked in one of the episodes. It might have been when we were talking about the Huntress backup, about the upcoming Secret Files issue with Huntress, with Mariko Tamaki and David Latham, and I guess it's kind of like an ongoing series or something like that. So they're doing a bunch of these. So they have one coming up starring The Signal with Tony Patrick and Christian Deuce, and then the one that I just saw recently, but I guess this was announced back in May, which is the Secret Files Clown Hunter from Ed Brisson and Rosie Campi, which, if I'm not mistaken, this will be Ed Brisson's DC debut, because most of what I know him from is Marvel stuff, so that's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. And I must have missed that because I did not hear anything about the Secret Files Clown Hunter. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what this Deathstroke Inc. is going to be like modeled after Batman Inc. That seems like an interesting concept when you're going from vigilante to mercenary.
Yeah.
Because it does, in the solicitation that I read, I mean, they still acknowledge that that's who he is. Just that he wants to do things differently. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, even with Joshua Williamson writing.
Yeah. I hope it's
He's not that bad.
it's I hope it's great concept and also a great story to match, because you don't want just the concept, then it'll start to get a little bit dry after a while. But I do have something to plug in the interest of Batman Incorporated, and specifically the Grant Morrison Batman run. For anyone who hasn't had a chance to read it or is just interested, There's a video series on YouTube. You might have seen it by a YouTuber by the name of Matt Draper. It's like a 3-part retrospective of the entire Batman by Grant Morrison run, and it goes into detail on a lot of the themes and motifs and subtext throughout that run. It's just really well produced. So if you're kind of looking for a deeper analysis, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I count Batman Inc. among my favorite story arcs with Batman in it. I just consider the whole damn thing one giant story arc because it kind of redefines the Bat family, and I really liked it. Yeah, the timeline was janky, but I mean, we've got that ironed out now, at least mostly.
Yeah. All right, well, if there's nothing else, we can get into our books for this week.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so first up, we'll be looking at Batman in Detective Comics number 1037. Our main story, followed by 2 short backup stories. So to kick it off, I'm going to let Josh tell us all about our main story.
All right, well, thank you very much. Detective was written by Mariko Tamaki, and art came from Victor Bogdanovich and Jonathan Glapion and Jordi Belair, with letters from Aditya Bidikar and a cover from Dan Mora, so you know that looks amazing. The book starts out with Huntress on a rooftop, and she's there with the dead body of Neil Betterman. That's the guy who killed Sarah Worth earlier, if you guys have been keeping up with this story. Consulting Oracle, they've noticed ocular discharge coming from the victims. That they say it in the comic here. That is a very gross phrase. It's some words just should not be put together. Anyway, so the victims have this discharge, and they display violent tendencies before they die. They also mention that it's parasitic, but I cannot figure out what led them to that conclusion. There was nothing that showed that to me. But in any case, they were right, because later on, we find out Hugh Vile, the right-hand man to Mayor Nakano, actually is a parasite kind of dude. And we should have known this with a last name like Vile, but this parasite kind of dude definitely makes Superman's parasite look like a Play-Doh set. This is little kid stuff, man. This is frightening. He looks like somebody took Killer Croc and mixed him with John Ridley's Aliens, and that's not pretty. But while all of this is happening, Bruce has found himself in a bit of a pickle, or more accurately, he's in the whole damn jar of pickles. He was seen outside of his home when Lydia was yelling at him. When Lydia was yelling at him about seeing him with Sarah Worth, even though she had already died. The problem is now Lydia is dead too. Things are not looking so good for old Mr. Wayne, and he gets pulled into questioning as the main suspect. He doesn't have to sit in jail long, though, because Sarah Worth's dad is actually getting him out of jail himself. Someone had texted every officer in the GCPD to vacate the place, and only Bruce was left behind. Mr. Worth is getting him out of jail, but by way of rocket-propelled grenade. Worth blows up the joint, and Bruce escapes to the sewers. Worth follows him, and Bruce is able to duck into a micro cave, come back out, and give a very swift uppercut to Worth, and that is the wrap on that one. I'm really digging the art here. Bogdanovich is great to see behind the art. He's always done good. Glapion is always on point. Belair is fast becoming one of my favorite colorists. That girl does everything. All kinds of different styles. I'm not sure how many times I can say that I'm into this story, but it's so solid so far that I really am hooked. However, this issue seems transitional, excuse me, and mostly like a segue, so I'm taking that into consideration. There was a lot that happened here, but I can tell that this is just us moving to the next part of the story. So with that, I'm giving it an 8.25 out of 10.
Very cool, very cool. Rob, what did you think?
I loved it. I thought the Biddekar's lettering was really on point this issue. The art.
That's why she's everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't mind if she was lettering every book, but that'd be a lot.
Hey. We have Tom Napolitano
Oh, yeah,
and Clayton Cowles to think of, man.
There are some really good letterers out there, but this one just blew me away. And the art keeps up really well with the whole issue, I find. It's just fantastic. And lots of action. I got suckered right into all this action. It was like watching an action movie that I just like tuned out, and just like all the background stuff. I just doesn't matter. This is like explosions, boom, boom, fight, let's go.
Now I have to wait a year and a half for the sequel? What the shit?
One thing I'm curious about, on that last page, it looks to me like Bruce just gave away his identity to Mr. Worth.
What?
Where Mr. Worth is in the sewer saying, "Where are you, Wayne?" And Bruce comes out in his Batman costume and says, "Here," as he's punching him right in the face.
Oh, okay. Yeah, shit. Maybe he meant it like, more like, here. Like, here's an uppercut.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Action movie again.
Pulled into court, but
who knows? But yeah, that was the one thing that's like that action movie twist where it's like, what the hell's going on? But I loved it. Yeah, this so much fun. It's beautiful pages all over the place. I gave this a 9 out of 10.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a really great time with this issue as well. Like Josh said, it is kind of a transitional issue, but I think it kind of works as getting some more insight into some of the more powerful people in Gotham, especially Mr. Worth, because to see him basically clear out the entire GCPD headquarters just so he can kill Bruce Wayne was a pretty powerful show of force, I think. And
he's
really
got.
get a sense
he doesn't have pull. He has toe.
Yeah. He's someone who gets what he wants and will do it by any means necessary, which was definitely pretty shocking. But thought the art was great. Victor Bogdanovich definitely reminds me a lot of Greg Capullo, and I mean that in a good way.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's just a super solid issue, and I ended up giving this one an 8.5. But next we'll be looking at our first backup story, which is Gotham Gazette's Deb Donovan. And Rob, why don't you tell us the tale and get us up to speed on who brought it to us and what it's all about?
Will do. So we got on writing duties Mariko Tamaki with art from Carl Mustert, colors from Jordi Belair, and letters from Rob Lee. So Deb Donovan is attending an event for the opening of a pediatric ward hosted by Wayne Tech. As the night goes on, Deb monologues about the rich and how much she hates these parties being only for the rich to feel good about themselves. On the way out, she takes a bottle of scotch with her. And on the way home, she's nearly clipped by a motorcycle and drops the scotch. My inner Scotsman is crying.
Mm-hmm.
So I sum up mostly the art in the story because it's hard to summarize the bulk of this story without going into immense detail. There was a lot to talk about with... the way I took it was an article Deb was writing. But to me, it reads like an essay from Tamaki about high society, and I loved it. Thought it hit really well.
It definitely seems like there's a message in there. And I don't know quite so much as it's a, how do you put it? Like an article by her, but more along the lines of like an inner monologue. She's kind of talking to herself.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, and like her old school like detective look, man, I kind of get the feeling like she's Gotham's version of Lois Lane.
Yeah, I was getting the same vibe, but I was thinking if DC continues with this character more in this regard, she could be like DC's version of Ben Urich.
Yeah, I definitely see the Ben Urich comparison. That's a good one.
Help me out here because I'm a DC guy. Ben Urich, who the hell is that?
He's kind of like one of the reporters at the Daily Bugle and works with Daredevil and Well, I wouldn't say Spider-Man, mostly Daredevil, but I say Spider-Man just because kind of. Peter Parker was also at the Daily Bugle, so yeah. Pete knows Ben.
I think in the Ultimate Universe they were a lot closer.
Yeah.
But he was everywhere. Like every major event in the early 2000s, there was the front lines issues where it was just
in Civil War.
From the perspective of Ben Urich reporting about all the events going on, like during Civil War and Secret Invasion and whatnot.
Yeah, no, his kind of, or Deb's voice, definitely. I wasn't thinking about Ben originally, but hearing you say that now, definitely, I can see the comparison.
It's like a parallel. I have nothing to base it on, but I believe you guys. I thought, I really enjoyed the art. I do totally see the Capullo comparison, and that is very high praise because Capullo is he's like in the top 3 artists at DC. His shit in death metal was mind-blowingly good. It doesn't matter. I don't think I'll ever see a Wonder Woman drawn quite as good as I saw in death metal. That's easily my favorite Wonder Woman. But in any case, it was fun to read. It was easily digestible. But I mean, maybe they're going to be bringing her into more stories, but it's going to be a long time before she's even Renee Montoya back character kind of level. So for what it is, I'll give it its due, 7 out of 10.
All right, Rob, what about you?
I really enjoyed it, and I hope to see more of this type of story from this character. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Solid art, just kind of a cool look at a Gotham journal. So yeah, not much else to say other than that. But next we'll move on to our final backup story, which is the Lucius Fox story, and this was brought to us by writing from John Ridley, pencils from Dustin Nguyen, colors from John Kalich, and letters from Tom Napolitano. And this is a short story that focuses on Lucius Fox working as Batman's armorer during Batman's early days with Robin. So after a routine engagement with some criminals go awry and the dynamic duo ends up in a kill box, Lucius has to strategize a way to get them out of there before it's too late. So after using the tech in the Batmobile to give them a 3-minute window to attack, Lucius has a heart-to-heart with Alfred, basically about the ethicality of employing a child in Batman's war on crime, to which Alfred assures Lucius that Dick is on the right path. And after the dynamic duo emerge victorious, Lucius resolves to work with Team Batman, but not for Bruce, for Richard and all the other teen vigilantes that will come after. So, like I said, this was, a solid story. I'm a big sucker for Dustin Nguyen's artwork, just because I think the way that he kind of sketches his stuff is really great, especially on a series called Descender with Jeff Lemire. So every time I see his pencils, it makes me think about that. And I think the colors definitely created a nice atmosphere, especially in the Batcave. So I think it all kind of worked together. And then I think it was a solid look into the mind of Lucius Fox in the early days of working with Batman. So I think it just kind of worked all around. Not stand out or anything, but just, a solid read, a solid 4-page read. Can't really complain. So yeah. I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
Right on. I think what sold it for me was that's a really, really interesting way to present Lucius Fox's origin with the Bat family. Basically to protect him from Bruce. I think it's a really cool idea, and I enjoyed it, but I mean, I didn't hate the art. It just didn't really do anything for me. Some of it was cool. The colors were spot on, but in other parts, not quite so much. Mostly mediocre. So this one gets a 7 out of 10 for me too.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence in those regards. I really enjoyed the story, and I really do hope to see more of this type. I thought it was really cool to see this side of the character in an early days story. And I hope to see more from the extended Bat family. I did find the art a little jarring, but about midway through the story, I really enjoyed it. I thought it fit really well. All that in conclusion, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Awesome. So before we head on to Wonder Woman, what is your complete score, guys?
I think that this book suffered from the backstories. They weren't altogether bad. They were average, actually a little bit better than that, but it also was completely unnecessary and took pages away from a really good detective comic. It was fun, but I'm going to have to, I mean, it's a roundup, but I'm giving the whole book a 7.5 out of 10.
All right. What about you, Rob?
I went strictly to the math this week for all of my books with backups, and just looking at all the scores, it averaged out to an 8.5. But I can definitely agree that as much as I enjoyed the backups, the tones were hugely different from the main story. And especially if you're feeling like you're watching an action movie and then you're watching a documentary, it's just not the same.
Yeah, no, using the math, mine averaged out to about an 8.2, but I'll just make it an 8.25 for simplicity. So yeah, no, I think a solid issue overall. And that's pretty much it. So next we'll be looking at Wonder Woman 773. This was brought to us by Michael W. Conrad and Becky Cloonan, with artwork from Travis Moore, colors from Tamara Bonvillain, and letters from Pat Brosseau. After Diana enters the Fortress of the Valkyries and argues with the Valkyries about their duty to save the people of Valhalla, Thor and the other warriors show up ready for a fight. But Diana puts Thor down before he can do any serious damage and is momentarily mentally ambushed by Dr. Psycho, who is furious with her meddling in his affairs. She quickly deals with him, returns to the fortress, where furious debate is occurring over the responsibilities of the Valkyries to Valhalla and the problems with Yggdrasil. They negotiate a deal that leaves everyone happy and will replenish the world tree with enough blood to sustain itself, and also give the Valkyries some time off when they need it. So revelry is had in the halls of Valhalla as victory has been accomplished, and Diana even reunites with Siegfried before departing to Olympus at the behest of Deadman and Ratatosk. But it is only when she arrives that she realizes that the true damage that Olympus has undergone and her troubles in the sphere of the gods had really only just begun. So I thought this was kind of an anticlimactic ending. Like, you kind of have Thor and the warriors show up and they're fighting for a little bit, and Wonder Woman kind of gets to deal with Dr. Psycho. But on the whole, I mean, I don't necessarily mind that they kind of ended the situation in a debate. I guess I was just expecting a little bit more than that, considering how much they were building up to this whole mystery of, you know, what's going on with the world tree. Why does it feel like Valhalla is in peril and in danger? And they kind of just solve everything in a conversation like, oh, you have a day off and people can keep getting slaughtered, and, you know, there'll be enough blood for the world tree, and problem solved, everything's good to go. Which, I don't know, it just felt a little like we ran out of time and we needed a quick wrap up, but it was still enjoyable, I think, and certainly the artwork is as beautiful as ever. So I ended up giving the main story a 7.75 just because, like, I enjoyed reading it. I still enjoyed the setting and everything. I just felt that the ending, like maybe the last 10 pages, were just kind of a disappointment.
I guess I kind of feel the same way in it. I love the art. Like, it's so good. And I felt like it did wrap everything up nicely, even if it was a little weak. Turns out that all of this bad shit was just because the Valkyries were doing a silent protest. That seems a little odd, but, I mean, comic books. So I thought it was cool the way that Wonder Woman came in. You know, all of her memories started flashing back, and then she was able to broker peace between the Valkyries and Asgardians. Cool. I thought the Thirsty Thor's Day joke was a little funny.
Yeah.
Growing up where that was college drinking day. I don't know if that's still the same, but
I think it's still there, but it has an entirely different meaning now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess it set up the story really good for the next part of this arc, I'm assuming anyway. No, it looked cool. But I will give this an 8 out of 10.
All right. Rob, what did you think?
Yeah, I really loved it. I really do see what you're talking about with the ending being a bit of a cop-out in a way. And maybe it's just because I've been playing a lot of Civilization 6 recently, but just the fact that they kind of end it in diplomacy instead of war, I thought that, you know, that's a good victory.
Oh my God. No. if you're not going for the military victory in Civ, what are you doing?
I mean, I'm playing as Canada right now. I'm winning in everything else besides domination. Actually, I'm still winning in domination. I
Gross.
don't want to attack anybody.
Sorry, it's just
Every single time the Canadians interact with somebody, it's boop. Oops, I'm sorry.
no, it just you gave me like Civ 5 flashbacks with my friends, and we would always try and go for the military victory.
Oh yeah,
just because I think we wanted to prove how big our armies had gotten by
yeah.
the modern age.
My second game, I'm definitely going to go for military. I want to practice like a science or culture victory because I want to take down all my friends.
Honestly, it's probably better. Like it's probably like better to do, and it's probably, I don't know, smarter, I'd say, but who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, this is Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Again, art's fantastic. I love the artwork in this story, and I really hope this level of artwork keeps up in future stories that we're going to see. Olympus, I believe, is the next story.
Mm.
And I do remember reading that Egypt is coming up soon. So I hope that level of style and artwork just keeps up throughout the different pantheons. And I'm super excited to see Wonder Woman interact with all these different gods.
I'm super excited to see what this art team does with the Egyptian gods.
Yeah.
They're cool as shit looking
They
anyway.
are. The amount of gold? Oh my god.
And Anubis, and I mean, there's so many cool Egyptian gods. They look wicked cool, man.
And I'm double checking. Ratatosk is sticking around, isn't he?
Sounds like it.
Oh, that's awesome. He's a cute little character. I love that. But all around, yeah, I'm gonna miss Siggy, but well, hopefully he comes back around at some point. I gave this a 9 out of 10. This was just so much fun.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we'll check in with Diana one more time before we move on to our next book, and that's in the Young Diana backup story, which Rob will tell us all about.
And speaking of backups that don't really follow through, this one comes from writer Jordi Belair with art by Paulina Ganucheau, colors by Kendall Good, and letters from Becca Carey. Diana has returned the lost book to Cleo, and together they find there are pages missing. Afterwards, Diana visits Megala, the island hermit. Megala confides in Diana that she has the missing pages and entrusts them to give to Cleo and only Cleo. Diana continues to realize that the Amazon's history is built on lies. Now, not to say anything bad about the creative team, because in other books I've seen these people on, they do a really good job, I think. But what's even happening anymore? I'm a little lost at this point as to what's the point of this and where's this going, and is this really just Diana questioning, like, is this her going through like Amazonian puberty and just like questioning everything? And it's such a weird story, and I'm curious if it's going to go anywhere. And honestly, DC, if this doesn't somehow connect to the main story, what was even the point?
Yeah.
What the fuck was the point anyway? We did not need this.
Yeah.
All of this crap could have been handled in 4-page backups or even just a flashback in one issue. We don't need this. And it's, like you said, sum it up, it is fucking weird. It's like drawn for 5-year-olds, written for 12-year-olds, and as confusing as if a 97-year-old wrote it that was deeply into dementia. I don't get it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's. I definitely think it's weirdly dense for a story that has so little going for it. Like,
yeah,
it just feels like they're talking about so much, and yet nothing really happens.
Ever. It's boring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really is.
Yeah. Well, all around that, I gave it a 6.5, which I think is a little generous on my part, but I'm still holding out hope it's going to go somewhere interesting.
Yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10, and that was me being generous.
I feel like I was being generous, and I gave it a 5.
Ooh. That seems a little more deserving.
Well, yeah, and I'm not going to ramble on to this one. I made it clear that the first part of Wonder Woman is really good. Even if you're not into the story, you have to appreciate the fact that it is light years beyond the quality of the following backup. It sucks for it, but It took an 8 out of 10 all the way down to 6.75.
Yeah, it brought mine to around a 7 out of 10, which is unfortunate, but just the backup story really dragged it down.
And then the math doesn't lie for me. I had a 7.75 for the total.
That's a really high score when you're including Young.
Yeah, but I really loved the first one.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, moving on to our next book, we'll be looking at Batman the Detective at number 3. So I'll let our resident Tom Taylor fan take it away.
I wear that badge proudly. Written by Tom Taylor with art from Andy Kubert, Sandra Hope, and Brad Anderson. Clem Robbins were on the letters, and the cover was done by Kubert and Anderson. And there's a great reason why I love Tom Taylor. It's because I think he does character studies on every person he's about to write, because he gets their voice so perfect every single time. Whether you like his stories or not, you have to respect that part, man. And this book starts right up where we left off, with Batman carrying Ducard to the hospital with, 4 extra holes in him. After getting there and spouting off pretty much everything a hospital could need to know about a person, besides, I guess, their insurance info, we get a flashback of when Bruce met Ducard. After Bruce helps stop an assassination attempt and offers, quote-unquote, an obscene amount of money, Ducard agrees to train him. Bruce wants that from Ducard because he is the world's greatest bounty hunter, or if you're in a comic book, that's called a manhunter. The next few pages is about what Bruce learned from him and his account of going after his very first criminal, which does not go well, by the way. Ducard actually has to save him, but when he does, he shoots the criminal point blank right between the eyes. And as you can imagine, Bruce doesn't handle that very well. So Ducard kicks the shit out of him. And then they don't see each other for a while. The next time they do, Batman is trying to track down another guy wanting to blow up a city, and Ducard got there first. A fight breaks out, but Ducard tells Bruce he didn't kill this one, although that guy is definitely dead. So back to the present, and the police are knocking on Bruce Wayne's door. Why? To arrest him for the death of one Henri Ducard. Cool story, Bruce. Cool story, bro. How many times did you get arrested this week? I think you might be stretching the truth a little bit. Seriously, though, I do continue to enjoy this, even though the majority of it was a flashback, and that tends to get on my nerves. The dialogue is great between the characters. Like I said before, every voice is perfect. And the art, man, I mean, Andy Kubert is the bomb. The way that Bruce looked the first time I saw him in the book was a little off-putting, because he looks like a giant, grizzled Marine drill instructor. But I actually love the look of him now. Really, really digging it. The whole book. All white background on the cover, too. Thank you, Maura. That looks sick. This one gets an 8.5 out of 10. Total cool beans, man.
Very cool, very cool. Rob, what did you think?
I love where this is going. I did not expect him to get arrested, even though it happened twice this week.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just cool to see where this is going. I didn't think that, and this is kind of more where my unexpected turn was going to be. I thought before the book came out, each issue was going to be him in a different country and not a look into the history, but I still loved this. I thought it was really cool to see early days with Ducard. And we're just getting so much of just historical moments with extended Bat Family, if you can call it Ducard Bat Family, but just
For sure.
I think it's great, especially with this character's been around fucking near 85 years now, and
Right.
there's just been so many characters over the years that sure we may have seen stories of this caliber like 50 years ago, but not many people reading these days will remember stories from 50 years ago. To see new stories like this, I think is fantastic, and it's good to It's like keeping up with the history, if you will. But I loved it. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. The art's fantastic. Kuber's doing a great job.
Yeah,
It does.
I also really enjoyed this issue. I think it kind of lost me just a little bit because I think I was expecting more progression with the overall story, and we kind of came to a halt just to focus on the relationship between Ducard and Bruce, which I think was well done, but I think I kind of wanted a little more answers to who that mystery Batwoman was from the last issue, just because they had kind of been, building it up a lot. So I'm hoping that it doesn't get too rushed out in the next 3 issues, but we'll see. But I think the star of this show for me is definitely Andy Kubert. Like, hands down. The art throughout this was absolutely phenomenal. And when we see the classic, like, oval Batman suit, it just looked so good. The coloring and the design and everything. So I'm a sucker for when they show flashback suits like that, and Andy Kubert really impressed me.
That was one of the things that I loved about Three Jokers, man, was that bat symbol. It was there's something about the yellow.
Oh yeah, it's just a great aesthetic. So yeah, it was just really well done, and like I said, I ended up giving this one an 8 out of 10. But next, we'll be taking a look at an anthology book featuring some other Bat family characters, as well as some of the main Bat characters that we all know and love, and that's in Batman Urban Legends number 4. So kicking off our first story is the Red Hood story, which Rob will get us up to speed on.
Who we got from writer Chip Zdarsky, art from Eddie Barrows and Eber Ferreira, colors from Marcus Toe, and letters from Becca Carey. The Red Hood is being blasted by Mr. Freeze, and trying to escape, he finds the whole building is iced over. Before Freeze ices him over, Hood contacts Oracle and, realizing his dire situation, asks for Batman's help. Upon getting word from Oracle, Batman is determined not to leave Jason behind again. And throughout all of this, we get flashbacks of that heartbreaking story from Death in the Family, where Batman just kind of left him behind, and Jason ran off and got himself killed. So Bruce is determined to not let that happen again, and he races to find him, saves him, and succeeds. And before he can thaw out Jason, he also gets frozen over by Mr. Freeze with the Cheer drug lord himself, and I'm not sure that man's been named yet.
No,
Yeah,
he hasn't, but I'm going to assume that he goes by the name Cheer.
yeah. I could feel that, and that costume's pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
I like the costume.
Yeah.
The costume's cool as shit.
Yeah, the flashback stuff and just seeing their relationship grow. I really hope they character growth for their relationship.
Yeah, I mean, the story is getting deeper into Red Hood and Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Because, honestly, I feel like that's what this story is really about, and the teardrops are basically just a plot device. Dude, I'm loving it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that relationship isn't just being written about, it's being explored, and it actually feels like it's being done right. So, hell yeah.
Yeah. I honestly think Chip should have his own Red Hood book after this.
I hope so, dude.
Yeah, that would be
so
amazing.
cool. And do we even need to mention the art?
Oh, well, we do, but at the same time, we don't.
It's glorious. I mean, that seems like an odd word for comic book art, but I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I gave this one a 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, I gave this an 8 myself.
Yeah, I gave the main story an 8.25. I think the score might have been a little bit higher, just because it felt a little short. I don't know if you guys felt that, but it, especially during kind of the chase where Batman's going after the truck, it felt like it went by pretty fast. They kind of pull over, Jason falls out of the back, and then boom, end of issue with the smiley guy. So here is probably where I should have taken away a point, but I just comic booked it. When Freeze freezes somebody, it's like instantaneous, right? Mm-hmm.
So it's flash freezing, right? If he flash froze Red Hood, and then Red Hood fell out of the back of a speeding truck,
He would have shattered. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
should have.
And even if he didn't, he should definitely be suffering some brain damage because he landed on his head.
Yeah. And I think like
Red Hood
muscle
already had
damage
brain
and nerve damage because like he landed on like the side and his arms were still up. So like if he
Yeah.
fell on that level, like your arms would be extremely damaged, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But comic books. 9
Yeah.
out of 10. Fuck it.
All right. Well, our next story features Luke Fox, and this was brought to us by writing from Camrus Johnson, which I didn't recognize that name, so I looked it up, and I guess he is the actor who plays Luke Fox in the Batwoman TV show.
He is
so
Not know
amazing.
that. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
He's really good in that show.
yeah. I like I said, I got to be honest. I haven't really seen anything with the CW, so like. I think I saw the trailer for the show, and that was about as far as I got. But I mean, yeah, hey, I think that's cool if he's got a story to tell about Luke Fox. Why not, right? But
Yeah, for
anyway, like I said, this was
I'll
right.
be honest. I checked out the Batwoman TV show just because I'm a huge Kate
Mm-hmm.
Kane fan. But and I mean Ruby Rose, she left the show, and you could tell that it was like this uncomfortable thing. And just in her acting, and it didn't feel right. The show would. I mean, maybe it's better now, but I couldn't enjoy it. But,
Oh,
Anyway.
I have no idea.
you mentioned somebody you did know, I guess. The name, other than Scott Dalhouse, I can't say I know anyone on this team.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's writing from Camrus Johnson, the actor who plays Luke Fox, with pencils from Luis Silton-Kize, colors from Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters from Troy Pateri. And this is a short story, not a ton here, really. It's just Batwoman takes down Riddler in kind of a classic style Riddler trap, and he also reflects on his relationship with his estranged brother Tim. And one of the memories he remembers from their shared time together actually helps him solve a clue. Towards the end, after facing off with Killer Croc, they team up to fight Riddler, and Luke realizes that maybe Tim being back in his life isn't so bad. So I thought it was, kind of a solid one and done. Not too much to say. The one thing that I was most worried about really was the colors, because I have not always been the biggest fan of Andrew Dahlhaus. I've found his colors to be incredibly muted at points. But I think it kind of worked here. At least it was better than I've seen it. But I think, like I said, it was just kind of a solid one and done. Not too much to say. So I ended up giving this one a 7.5.
Like I said, I wasn't really familiar with anyone other than Travis Scott Dallas, and I guess you could say Troy Pateri. But I look forward to more of this. The art I thought looked really good, and Johnson can write a pretty decent story. There just wasn't much to it.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's adjacent to the things going on, I'm not even really aware of seeing Batwing at all.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Anytime recently, except for very briefly in Future State, right?
Yes, and in the Batman Second Son series.
There you go. It was good, but it's definitely not required reading. For being a backup, I think it's worth a 7 out of 10, though.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this was really cool to see from somebody in the mind of Luke Fox,
Mhm.
somebody that plays him on a regular basis, and I think it shows off that he really understands the character. But that's just my opinion. I don't know how well everybody else that might be more well versed with Luke Fox would see it, but I thought it was pretty cool, and I wouldn't mind seeing more from his own little mind. I thought it was a fun little story. And this is actually
Batwing, perfect, man.
Yeah, and this is actually the first of 2 stories written this week by the actors who play the characters, and the second one you'll see in the DC Pride
Oh,
Good.
really?
with Dreamer. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Nicole Maines is writing the Dreamer story there. Also, I'm not going to give away too much, but she really understands the character.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I guess.
I did.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on, go
I
on.
said that I guess that does make sense. I mean, you figure, you're pretty much living with these characters for however long you're playing them. Like, you probably have some kind of idea of how they would be in a story, and then you just kind of write around that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah. Now, I did forget about this until honestly just now when we were talking about it. But DC TV did actually release promo images of Luke Fox. I haven't watched any of season 2 of Batwoman, but of him suiting up in the Batwing costume. And they're finally getting there. Actually, it looks pretty fucking good. Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed the story. It was a fun little story. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Nice. All right. Well, moving on along, we'll be taking a look at our next story, which features a very popular Robin, Tim Drake, and I'll let Josh tell us about that one.
All right, this is titled Tim Drake, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. And then, unfortunately, it's only part 1 of 3. But it was written by Megan Fitzmartin with letters from Pat Brazeau and art from, and I know Pat Brazeau on Twitter, and I know I'm saying your name wrong. I'm sorry. I can never remember how to say your name right, man. Art from Belen Ortega and Alejandro Sanchez, who is absolutely one of my favorite colorists, and maybe my favorite at DC. This art is nearly perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So the story opens up with Oracle talking to Tim Drake on comms. The very first lines in this book are from Oracle to Tim Drake, and it goes, Oracle to, which code name are you going by now? Are you Red Robin, just Robin? I am not calling you Drake. He says Robin's fine till Damian gets back in town. But back to the story anyway. So somebody is kidnapping teenagers in Gotham, and Robin is on the case. Oracle called Tim to get help running a diagnostic on the Bat computer because he apparently designed the system. And she doesn't realize that he's on a case until he's pretty much done with it. That's how good of a Robin that he is, and coincidentally why I think he should be the Batman. Anyway, he was able to get the name out of Chaos Monster from a couple of friends of one of the kidnapping victims named Claire. When Barbara Stark nagged him about using his brain for college and himself, Tim decides that he's going to go off duty and clicks off on the comms. He's on his way to see an old friend. Apparently, it's one friend that he hasn't spoken to in a very long time. At least well before he was adopted, it looks like. They're catching up a bit, and who should appear and kill the waiter while they're at it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's Chaos Monster, of course. He looks like a really angry cross between some sea creature like a squid and a mountain goat. I don't know. But he's definitely funky looking, and Chaos Monster is faster than Tim by far and knocks him out. When he wakes up, it's to a cop telling him that his friend Bernard has been kidnapped. I loved this. It showed how good Tim Drake is. It acknowledged how big of a fuck up Drake was. The art is beautiful, man. Without any hesitation, this gets an 8.5 out of 10.
They did make a mistake, though. If they were going to, well, there's another point I want to make, but I'll get to that later. But they did make a mistake, which was if Tim is going to see an old friend of his, it should not have been Bernard. Everyone knows, or at least a Tim Drake fan should know, it would have been his old friend Ives from the 90s, who's like, who's like the super like nerdy one who plays like video games or whatever. It should have been Ives, I'm just saying. And I only know Ives because I have like one random issue of like Robin from the 90s. And it's like this random character, and it's just, I don't know, it just like stuck with me because it's like, what the hell kind of name is Ives?
Yeah, I don't even think he exists in the current incarnation.
I don't know.
Yeah, but originally that would have been who his best friend was.
Yeah,
because I am a Tim Drake fan, so
I knew you'd pick up on that. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty solid issue. I mean, solid issue, a solid story, especially featuring Tim Drake, who it's nice to kind of see him doing solo stuff instead of
Yes,
kind of
it
being
is.
on an ensemble. And
It's nice to see him not spending entire issues texting Stephanie Brown.
yes, yeah. Well, it seems like him and Steph are kind of on the outs, which was a little disappointing, I have to say.
When did that happen? Again.
Well, hopefully it happened because everybody just went, you know what? I don't think we're going to build off of that Wonder Comics imprint. I hope that's the case.
Yeah. Well, it's just weird that it was kind of like, I don't know, brushed aside, like, oh, she's my ex now. When did we break up? I don't know. Happened at some point, I guess. Which, you know, in a teenage relationship, like, it's believable, but just a little, felt like kind of a little bit of a brush off. But
It did happen before Bendis started his Teen Titans run.
Yeah.
They did break up before that.
At least that had a bit more of an explanation.
yeah, well, they'd
That
broken
seemed a
up
little more
and then
organic.
gotten back together, like, right after JT4's Detective Comics, and then I guess we're together in Young Justice, and then I don't know. It's all very weird and complex, but point is that was probably one of the things where I was like, eh. But other than that, that was a solid Tim Drake story, and like I said, it's great to see him back in Gotham City doing his own thing, being a detective and so forth. So I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
Fault you there.
hmm Yeah, I am so happy we're finally getting some Tim Drake content. And I don't know about you guys, but I also refuse to call him Drake.
Yeah, as I'm sure everyone does.
Yeah, I'm really hoping this will spark more interest for Tim stories.
Mhm.
We need more. He's just been on the back burner, and like the only real Tim Drake story we got in the past few years was from Bendis. And I want more.
Yeah.
Just give us more. Yeah, this is an 8 out of 10 for me. I'm curious to see where this goes. Art was fantastic.
All right. Well, next we have our final story in this anthology, and that is our Grifter backstory. This was brought to us by Matthew Rosenberg with pencils from Ryan Benjamin, colors from Antonio Fabela, and letters from Saja Temafonte. So Grifter and Deathstroke are in the midst of a total showdown throwdown, and you're like, holy crap, Grifter versus Deathstroke, what the hell is going on?
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, friends, it's all a very clever ruse, as Grifter makes very clear. See, they hired Deathstroke to cause some ruckus, some very loud ruckus, to attract the attention of a certain someone to take him off the board temporarily. But just as Grifter and Slade set up the trap, it seems they caught something they did not account for. And no, it's not a squirrel or a bear or a really big dog or something like that. It's something far more red, blue, and Kryptonian, let's say that. So at the same time as all this mayhem, Wayne Tower is under siege from some assassins from Leviathan. And given that the trap was not designed for that... Whoa, I think I skipped a sentence. Okay. Given that the trap was not designed for him, Soups easily breaks free and pursues Grifter, who needs to get the hell out of Dodge fast. After attempting to teleport into Wayne Tower unsuccessfully, likely to get access to more of the Wayne Tech secrets, Cole has to call for immediate help from an old Wildcat friend who saves Lucius's life from the Leviathan assassins before leaving. With Superman still in tow, despite his attempts to slow him, Grifter quickly ports out of there before Soups can catch him. And Big Blue briefly catches up with Batman with the intent of further pursuing Grifter, though Batman seems to want to take this one on personally, given the events that occurred at Wayne Tower earlier. Or at least I think that's why Batman was kind of giving Superman the brush off, like, I'll just handle this myself. But it's time he got some final answers from Cole Cash by any means necessary. So I thought it was awesome. Like, I've really been enjoying every single part of this Grifter story. And it's funny, I think I went into it kind of excited because I was a fan of Matthew Rosenberg and I was looking forward to seeing what he would do with Grifter, but I think it's actually kind of exceeded my expectations, and I just kind of enjoy it more and more every time I get a chance to read it. And Grifter versus Deathstroke is something that I didn't know I needed. I'm sure it's happened before during the New 52, but I think this was probably a better presentation anyway. And I don't know, it's just, there was a lot of great stuff. And then there is, like I mentioned, a wildcat that is called into action at Wayne Tower. We can spoil it here if you want or not, but
you might as well. Let me just put it to you this way. Brandon has been fucking right since day one.
Indeed I have.
Yeah.
And if you were paying attention, like very close attention, there's another wildcat that's mentioned as Grifter is trying to teleport out. So I'm pretty sure by this point we have confirmed the existence of most, if not all, of the wildcats. I think we're still waiting on like Maul, but if I had to guess, Spartan definitely exists because we know that Jacob Marlowe exists, and Jacob Marlowe is like the father of Spartan. So I'm pretty sure that Spartan exists. So we've got most of the wildcats at least, but
The one that I'm still trying to figure out is who's on the fucking radio.
I think we confirmed that in the last one.
Zealot.
Yeah, well, it's not Zealot. I think we. Oh well, I guess we spoiled it. Whoops. All right. Well, anyway, that's the Wildcat, by the way. That's who shows up. It's Zealot. But I think we guessed last time. If it's not Zealot, it's Ladytron. But
yeah.
At least we know. At least we know that Zealot is still working with Cole Cash. So, and I guess if we're doing spoilers, we can just go all the way. The other Wildcat that Cole mentions, the one that's teleporting him around, is Void, who is like the one who's got like that silver jumpsuit on and basically teleports people. So pretty cool stuff. But like I said, I loved it. Freaking enjoying the story, and I'm almost kind of sad that the next issue is going to be the last part of this series. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming next, but I hope he's got more plans for it because like.
I hope they give Rosenberg an ongoing Grifter, or even better,
Wildcats, yeah.
Wildcats.
Oh, that would be so great. That would be so
It
great.
really would, man.
And I've seen people like on Reddit speculating that might be coming next, just because they've been name dropping so many Wildcats. But I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully it's not just Easter eggs for the story.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, it does feel like it's a reintroduction, if you will, for some people that either might have forgotten about these characters or just didn't know about them before, just to get them primed for an ongoing book.
Yeah,
I think that was the whole purpose of the Midnighter backup stories and that we got during Future State and that we're getting now, is to promote the Authority and remind everybody about that.
Yeah, so
which is where him and Apollo came from.
Yeah, that's why I think it definitely could lead to Wildcats, because yeah, if they've got Midnighter going to the Authority in July, you know, it's very likely that we could get Grifter in the Wildcats at some point. But we'll have to see. Is there a place for the Wildcats in the modern marketplace? I hope so. I wish, but we'll have to see.
Well, it really looks like DC is just like doing take two on all their big 90s properties that people enjoyed, but
Yeah.
kind of felt like Milestone's back, Authority's back, and yeah, Wildcats is next.
Yeah, well,
Let's do
I
it.
feel like the Wildstorm stuff's always going to have a pretty big presence at DC, just because as long as Jim Lee is in charge, he's going to want to keep them around forever.
Yeah.
That's fine by me, man.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I can't complain. I had a really fun time, so I gave this one an 8.5.
Yeah. I liked it too. I gave it an 8, but man, I definitely did not see Superman showing up in this at all. But it's typical banter between Batman and Superman. I don't think there was any kind of specific motivation. It was basically Batman being Batman, saying, "Get the hell out of my city. I've got this."
Yeah.
But I always loved Grifter, and I think I could say I might always love Rosenberg writing him, especially if it looks this good while he is doing it. We need a Grifter series, or preferably a Wildcat series, so Grifter doesn't become the Batman of the Wildcats. But
Yeah.
just give it to us, please. Rosenberg writing.
Well, my hope is
yeah.
if you could have a really good Wildcat series, I don't know, it would kind of basically get people to be like, okay, like I'd like the Wildcats. I'm willing to keep reading them and not just Grifter. You know what I mean? Like I'll read these other characters too.
Rosenberg and Jim Lee, make it happen, DC.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. If you could get him to draw a couple issues of Wildcats again. I don't know if he ever would, but hey, dare to dream.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, how did you guys rate this issue? Or this backup, this final backup, and then I guess the issue as a whole.
Like I said, I gave the Grifter an 8 out of 10, and the whole book was damn enjoyable, man. Really nice to look at all the way through. The art's fantastic. And if there is more Batwing coming, which I hope that there is, then I hope it's more engaging of a story than this. That the Batwing was the drag of this book, and really, it wasn't bad. It was just not enough. So I'm taking that, and I'm rounding the whole damn thing up to 8.5.
Very cool. Rob, what about you?
I really enjoyed Grifter. For me, it was the highlight of this issue, and it was an 8.5 for me, where everything else was an 8. I have one question though, and I don't know if they explained this and I missed it, but at the end of the last chapter, he was hanging off the side of Wayne Tower while Bruce and Lucius were walking through that restricted area, and that was the to be continued. And now all of a sudden, he's fighting Deathstroke. As awesome as that was, how did he get down?
That's what I want to know.
He's the wild stuff.
I'm assuming he found some kind of way to get out, but yeah.
It just seemed like they left that as such a cliffhanger, like, oh, what's he going to do now? And then they just kind of ignore it. But I still loved it. And I, again, got taken in by the action. Like that first page you see Grifter and Deathstroke going at him, like, holy shit, yes.
Yeah. I know, I was like, yeah. Do you guys get the feeling that... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
I was just rounding it all out. I gave the whole book an 8. It's a lot of fun. I loved it.
Do you guys get the feeling that Grifter is kind of morphed into, at least a little bit, DC's version of Domino?
I could see that.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good choice.
I mean, a lot of his shit is luck and smart mouth, and you know, that's a Domino. But, I enjoyed it, man.
Yeah. All right.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Now, back to our program.
Hope that wasn't too terrible. Thanks for sticking with Not a Robot. Next up, we've got Justice League Last Ride number 2. This was brought to us by Chip Zdarsky, pencils from Miguel Mendonça, colors from Enrica Angiolini, and letters from Ann World Design. So in a time before, not so long ago, but somewhat recently, the Justice League, along with nearly everyone in the DCU, held off a fierce invasion from Darkseid, who had planned to use Mother Box bombs to invade Earth. Several members of the League and other heroes are seen engaging in battle and evacuation, frantically trying to save lives as Batman and Martian Manhunter try to find answers in Darkseid's apocalyptic control center. Superman and the GLC try to fight off Darkseid's armies on Oa, hoping to prevent Darkseid from gaining access to the central power battery, to no avail as Darkseid suddenly appears. But this was all in the past, a time when the League felt weak and overpowered. Now they have a mission and a purpose, and that mission is back on Apokolips as the Justice League head towards Apokolips. Batman gives Wally the cold shoulder during the flight there, while Lobo smack talks the League all the way there. But this melodrama is interrupted when a ship hurtling towards a black hole sends out an SOS message, to which Superman, John, and Hal immediately intervene. Superman is momentarily overpowered, but John and Hal come to the rescue. But this is but a momentary distraction, however, as they approach the husk of Apokolips and all the danger that awaits them. Wow! So much drama. Oh my god. I think the last time we talked about this book, I was like... I didn't even know what to rate it. I put like a question mark out of 10 because I wasn't sure how I felt about it.
Yeah, I remember you saying that last time.
Yeah, and I think I know where I stand now, and I like it because I mean I really like, I don't know, I don't love angst, not a lot, but I think it can work in some places, and like finally getting not the full picture, but you know, a kind of a teaser of like what really happened to the League that made them just kind of hate each other basically, was really satisfying and kind of gave me a glimpse into understanding why everyone is kind of the way they are right now, especially Superman, I think, because I mean the last time we saw him, he's kind of, you know, he's struggling with this idea of like, oh, I can't save everyone, and you're like, yeah, kind of seen that before, but now it's really like, oh my god, like I let so many people die in the Green Lantern Corps and potentially Martian Manhunter, and like have that weight on my shoulders, and I'm just trying to save as many people as I can. And even as he's trying to save that ship, and he basically can't, and Hal and John have to step in. Like, that's where I really felt it. So, I mean, at least for me, I felt like the emotional crux of the story came from Superman, but also Batman and Wonder Woman. And I guess Flash is just kind of there trying to process it all, because... And this is
even him and Green Lantern and shit. They were talking about it when they were flying through space. There is a heavy emotional connotation.
Oh yeah, well,
book.
and that leads into a question I have, which is, Batman explicitly calls Flash Wally, and in the last issue we see him, and this is just like me trying to pin it down. It has like kind of no bearing on the story, but the last issue he has ginger hair, which is kind of trademarked for Wally. So my question is, if this Wally has kind of adopted being the Flash, does that mean that Barry died in the Crisis? Like, that'd be my guess. Because he says he wasn't there, but there was a Flash there.
Well, I mean, that's the only thing that popped to my mind was that, that's why Wally is the Flash.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost seems as though he's like,
yep,
that's the one that I want to be Flash, so he just went with it.
Or at least that's why Wally's wearing Barry's, like, new 52 suit, not the Rebirth, like, Kid Flash suit that he has.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, just very well done. Like, I don't know. I think in a better world, in a fairer, kinder world, this would be the main Justice League book, and Justice League Dark would be the backup, and everyone would live in peace and harmony. But that's just not how the world is, so I guess we just have this separate Justice League book, and we also have to read the Bendis one too. But like I said, super strong. I think kind of a better debut for me, or at least it kind of solidified my feelings on this book, and I really enjoyed it. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. And then I'm not even going to really talk about the artwork, because just look at it. Just look at it. Like, that's all I got to say. It's great.
Yeah. This book, I mean, obviously we got to look at it as an Elseworld book.
Yeah.
But, with Wally dying in the Crisis, or Barry dying in the Crisis, and obviously not coming back. So definitely Elseworld. But I honestly had to go back and reread the first issue to figure out why they were in battle. And I think that it was so dense that my memory just went, eh. So I reread the whole first book, and then I read this book. And holy shit, man, this stuff just flows so nicely. So, I mean, it's kind of cool because I got to enjoy the first story twice. And the whole thing so far is just great. I really want to see what's going to happen because it's called The Last Ride for a reason. And obviously it wouldn't be called The Last Ride if they had already broken up and now they're getting back together. I mean, they're coming back together out of necessity, but I think there's going to be something that just drives that nail in the coffin before this book is over with. So I'm giving it an 8.75 out of 10. I had a hell of a time. And the art, it's exactly what you want to see in a great book. So what do you think? What do you two think will happen in this series?
I just listening to you guys talk about it and looking at some of the artwork, my mind is just exploding with possibilities right now.
I don't know.
And I'm thinking this last ride, when we're talking about the last issue, I was thinking this is a lot like DC's version of the End imprint that Marvel did, and this is Justice League The End, but obviously they can't use The End, they go with Last Ride. And I was thinking in the first issue maybe not so much, but the second issue definitely. It's definitely the last ride for the Justice League. And if you're doing that, like, this story is dark. It's not DC's dark, but it's really getting there. And I think it could get to that point where just everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
And maybe Lobo is foreshadowing the story when he says, I can't wait to see all of you die. And if
he
anything,
would definitely be able to, because I mean, I've seen him be reinstated from just one drop of blood.
Yeah. And if anything, Batman might be the catalyst. Like, we still haven't seen exactly why Superman and Batman are at odds with their choices, but if I remember right, and you've reread the issue, Martian Manhunter was one of the big things, right?
Yeah, Martian Manhunter volunteered to go on a mission that Batman set him up on, even though Batman knew he was going to die.
Yeah, and my
Superman is pissed.
My guess is like that's kind of what we're seeing in the in the Apocalyptic Control Center, where him and John are kind of trying to find out how to stop Darkseid's invasion. So my guess is he's going to make a call with John that will get him killed, but what that is, we just don't know yet. But it'll be interesting to see.
I'm seeing something here I didn't notice the first time in the panel where John and Batman are in the control room and there's these loud booms and they're getting ready to fight. And I noticed Batman and John are standing exactly the same way. Their arms are in slightly different positions, but their leg posture, their body posture, the way their heads are turned, it's exactly the same. And you could say that that's maybe just the artist doing a copy and paste for time's sake, but John also has those little grooves on his arms where Batman would have on his gauntlets, the little like jut out like the blades on his, I never know what they're called. And it's making me think Jean's obviously a telepath. He's got his fingers on his head. Maybe he's reading Batman's mind to get all the combat skill and knowledge that Batman has, and he's just flowing Batman into his own mind. And maybe that is probably what'll happen, because we've seen before Bruce is more than ready to sacrifice himself to save the day. So maybe that is ultimately what happens. John is just channeling Batman and sacrificing himself, and that's what Superman blames him for, because that's a classic Batman play.
Oh yeah, that's definitely possible.
Or John just knew that what was that Batman was right, and that's what would need to be done. So he's like, okay, I'm the only one that can do it. Let's go.
Yeah. But yeah, this is just a fantastic story. Oh my god, it is just gruesome.
I do think this book probably has my favorite line of this week. Surprisingly, not Grifter, but this book, which is as Darkseid is kind of materializing on Oa. He says, "Apologies for my lateness. I had some errands," and he's just holding the dead bodies of the Guardians, which shouldn't be funny.
That was pretty good.
I know it shouldn't be funny, but it was like, it was kind of awesome. So.
It was funny.
Yeah. That being said, I gave this a 9 out of 10. Oh my god, it's so much fun if you enjoy death of your favorite childhood superheroes. But yeah.
Speaking of which, go get Deceased.
All right, well, moving on to our next book, which I assure you is just as bleak and depressing. We'll be taking a look at The Joker, number 4, and I'll let Rob walk us through that one.
Gladly. So this one comes from James Tynion IV, with art by Guillaume March, colors from Erich Prianto, and letters from Tom Napolitano. So the assassins are closing in. Lady Bane strikes first and takes down every guard in her way. She gets her hands on the Joker fast as the Samson twins show up to get their stab at Joker. Before any more can be done, Joker sets off nerve gas bombs and takes down everyone there. Gordon wakes up in the jungle in the middle of the night. Joker's just finishing up his needlework on Buddy Sampson, and Joker wants to hire Gordon as a PI to find out who gassed Arkham. Now, Gordon is still convinced it was him, but still Joker leaves Gordon, telling him where he will be next. Lady Bane arrives just after and frees Gordon, telling him to go back to Gotham. You have no place here. And speaking of Gotham, Barbara is investigating Chrysidia hard. And that investigation has caught the attention of the Court of Owls. As Steph leaves for the night, a Talon appears behind Barbara. Oh, this is such a fun book. The art's fantastic. The story's fantastic. I keep saying fantastic and everything, but I'm running out of adjectives.
No, you sound like Mr. Fantastic, but I'm...
Mr. Terrific.
My vocabulary's not stretching.
Yeah. Oh,
anyway. But, oh god, I don't even know what more to say about this book. I'm just loving it so much. It's such a side of these characters we haven't seen before.
It's done really well because everything that pops up is kind of, sort of, not what you see coming.
Yeah.
And can Bane Girl kick some ass or what?
I'll say.
Oh my god.
Dude, she pushed over a gigantic tree with just her legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She tackled something like, I think I see 5 there, like at least 5 guys at the same time. She just tackles them. Can I say that is some of the prettiest nerve gas I've ever seen.
Right?
She-Bane is apparently just like her daddy. She's got the same kind of personality, and at least the same kind of the manner of speaking like Bane does, the more intelligent approach that they give him. She feels the same. Talking about light and darkness. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10, man. It's fantastic. This is the best Joker run that I've ever put my eyes to. And, the one titled Joker. Right?
Yeah.
About speculation time, if it's not Joker, it obviously wasn't Peacekeeper 1. Who did the attack on Arkham?
Yeah.
Maybe Simon Saint? That'd be my guess.
That's the only thing I can come up with.
Yeah. Because it would give you
some kind of scarecrow.
Yeah, it'd give you a good excuse to kickstart the magistrate program. Plus,
Exactly.
I don't know if he's working with the Court of Owls, but if he kind of has his ear to the ground and he knows there's a manhunt out for Joker, that kind of, kills two birds with one stone. Because you kill the Joker and you get control over the city with your magistrate program. So it's kind of a win-win.
For him, anyway.
Yeah. But, this issue was great. It actually... I ended up giving it an 8.25, and it would have scored a 9 for me, but it just, I don't know, like, it had me, I think, all the way up until Joker kidnapping Jim Gordon and kind of going on that monologue. And I don't know what it was about that monologue, but it didn't land for me. And it just, like... I kind of had a similar problem during Joker War, where it was kind of like Tynan's voice for Joker is kind of like, I don't know, it kind of goes back and forth. Yeah, it can be a little off for me, where it's like sometimes it really works and sometimes it's kind of like what are you even talking about? And this one was kind of,
it goes from Joker to generic villain.
Yes, yeah, it's very, he almost like becomes Lex Luthor for a second. But an anarchist, I guess. So yeah, it was just like, it really had me, especially with the opening stuff with is she called She-Bane or is it Vengeance? I don't know.
I am Vengeance.
It keeps falling.
That's a Bane line.
Yeah.
That's a Batman line, and I think that's just I'm assuming that is just a tip of the hat to that.
Yeah.
But you guys could be wrong. Her name isn't She-Bane or Lady Bane or Bane Girl. I don't believe that it has been shared officially yet.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe just me knowing that line so well, I just assumed that that's what it was. So maybe maybe her name is Vengeance.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool name for a person.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so yeah, all that stuff really worked for me. Just I think that like final monologue just kind of threw me off a little bit, but for the most part, it was still a solid read. So I'm hoping they can just keep pushing this mystery forward, and then getting any kind of scenes where Oracle is working with the Batgirl is like that's going to win me over in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
So just done really well.
I don't know if it'll help you at all, but it definitely helps me when I'm reading Joker monologues to just hear Mark Hamill's voice doing it, and it just makes it so much better because it
can't do it.
It makes it sound like the animated series character, and that's just an iconic Joker.
Yeah.
And so I gave this a 9.5, if only besides the art and the story just being fantastic. I'm gonna say that the nerve gas colors are for Pride Month because it's all rainbow, and that just brought the score up a little bit for me.
You know what? I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
That is cool, man.
Yeah.
I bet you're right.
I'll definitely find out. Well, I don't know if we'll find out, but that's how I'm taking it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a 9.5 for me.
I would assume so. Now that you brought it up, I would assume so. Joker is another character that is infamously, well, I guess everything sexual.
Yeah.
He obviously has a very romantic partnership or attraction to Batman.
Oh, definitely.
So it would make sense that they did that. That's cool.
All right, well, let's head back to Gotham for a little bit and catch up with Joker's, I guess, new squeeze Punchline as she sits in jail. So, Josh, why don't you tell us about that one?
I would be happy to. Written by Sam Johns and James Tynion IV, or as Brandon refers to him, JT4. But I prefer to call him the Tiny Onion. Art came from Mirko Andolfo and Romulo Fajardo Jr., and on lettering we have Ariana Mar. After the fight with Orca last issue, Punchline is knocked out and hurt pretty bad. So the guards find her, they're calling an EMT, and then we flash over to Bluebird. She's in some hot water because that's his name, right? Aiden?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, okay. Yeah, he's got her tied to a chair surrounded by fire. She's able to break free, grab her gun, and use it to shoot out a window to vent the smoke. Not a great idea. I guess she's never seen Backdraft? Anyway, the explosion knocks her outside and knocks her out. Leslie is trying to raise her on the radio, but it's not working. And then we go back to prison. And we finally get confirmation that this is not the Queen of Hearts. It didn't make any sense to me that that's what it was. And, there were elements that tied her to the Royal Flush Gang, but her being the Queen of Hearts didn't make any sense to me. And she is not. She's the Queen of Spades. The redesign would have been unfavorable, in my opinion, if it was Hearts. But that doesn't matter much, because the design of her face is about to change. The Queen of Spades' entire team switched sides on her, and Orca beats the hell out of her. Orca says she won't kill, but Punchline says that they have no such issue. Now, and I feel really dumb about this, but we really should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
I give it an 8.25 out of 10. I'm enjoying the art. I'm enjoying the story. There's some wonky bits, but nothing that takes away from it too much, man.
Yeah, I can definitely agree that's actually what I had written down, that the reveal was good, but we should have seen it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of feel really dumb. Maybe it's just the hair color, but that shouldn't have done it.
Nope.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. I don't know where this is going yet. I'm just happy Bluebird's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was a 7.5 out of me. It's not necessarily bad backup, but just comparing it to the main story, it's like a footnote.
Yeah. I think even compared to the last couple of chapters that we've gotten, this was probably, at least for me, the weakest one. Just because it felt like really, I don't know, like, short isn't the right word. Basically, like a Cliff's Notes version of a story. Like, you get the important beats and then you're done. Or at least it felt that way for me.
Because it's like, I think it's the flashing back and forth between the two, trying to keep track of Punchline.
Yeah.
And Bluebird in such a short amount of pages.
Yeah, it didn't fully land. So I also ended up giving this one a 7.5, where I don't even know that it necessarily would have benefited from being longer. I just think maybe it needed a little bit more of an interesting twist for just, an 8-page story, but we'll see. But before we're done with the Joker, we're going to give a brief mention to a digital-first series called Joker Presents the Puzzle Box. This was, I guess, originally supposed to be a DC Universe exclusive, but as we learned, or as I learned last week, it just kind of was released on Comixology, like as anything normally would be. So you can pick it up right now. But I'm going to let Josh fill us in about what the Joker Puzzle Box is all about.
Man, okay. Did you guys read this one?
Yeah,
I did.
Because wow. All right, so this this unique take on a comic book was written by Matthew Rosenberg, who's tackling Grifter that we love so much, and it has art from Jesus Moreno and Ulises Arreola, with a cover from Chip Zdarsky, with lettering from Ferran Delgado. And the book opens up to the Joker in a GCPD interrogation room. They arrested Joker in his so-called home, which at the time was filled with Gotham's worth. Wow, blah, blah, blah. At the time, it was filled with Gotham's worst of the worst criminals. Commissioner Gordon wants to know why. Now, we're dealing with the Joker here, and the story is told from the Joker's point of view, so there's really no telling how twisted the truth is going to be, if there is any truth to it at all. He says that they're there for a surprise thank you party, and that he doesn't know why. Batman shows up right after they all present him with a cake, and of course, the Bat family shows up with him. GCPD shows up, and all the dialogue is like this. It's absurdity at its finest. It ends with the Joker getting arrested, and Jim shows him a picture of a murder victim. The Joker laughs and says, he's not dead. The next page, we see that the person in the photos is the Riddler. The end of this page says, next issue, the Riddler finds out what's in the box, which I suspect is a tip or clue toward the movie 7. The whole gist of this book is that we're going to be able, as an audience, to ride along with this mystery, look for clues in the books, and try to figure out what's going on before the final issue. And supposedly it's being set up so that we, if we're really paying attention, we'll be able to do that. So, the whole what's in the box thing, that is a pretty famous line from the movie 7, so I'm assuming that that's where it's coming from. I can't see any other significance for the phrase, so that's where I'm at with that. But for me, that was not the end of the book. I'm using the director's cut to review it, which has additional pages. So now we're earlier in the night at GCPD headquarters. Jim Gordon has been called in the middle of the night, and it's because, of course, of the arrest at Joker's house. The press got word of it. It's going apeshit crazy. The police department is nuts right now. And for some reason, they threw every single villain that was at Joker's place into the same cell. That's when we see Gordon asking if any of them will talk, and Joker says that he will. The last page of this is a 16-panel montage, of everyone getting one last word in before Jim signs off, and the last one saying, "It's going to be a long night." Okay, so I only had the chance to read this through the one time. Before I comment on anything else, let me just say that a narrative Joker is always fun. Even if the story stinks, the narrator role works for him. And you don't know what's true, you don't know what's false until you get to the end of it. I love that about a narrative Joker. The story so far is pretty interesting. Who killed the Riddler? At least that's the mystery for now. There's no telling if that's going to change what the mystery, if the mystery is going to change what it is later on. Other than that, with just one read, the only thing that stood out to me as a clue was the "What's in the Box" caption. Great job done here. I think so anyway. I liked it. I think maybe we needed a bit longer of an issue to get into the mystery a bit more rather than just one conversation with the Joker. But overall, cool. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Before you guys get into your ratings, or while you're doing it, were there any clues that y'all picked up?
See, that's a loaded question for me, because I'm going to just go crazy with this one. And right away, I'm thinking one of the first things he said, where he says, I just like it when food is hidden inside my food. It's the surprise, I guess. Like, that's a clue. Like, everything's a fucking clue, and I'm just gonna lose my mind reading this.
The book.
I pretend I'm a detective, but I'm not
in the
good.
cake at Joker's house.
Yeah, the book that Joker's reading when the police bust in and catch him, which is called The Talented Mr. Ripley, which I'm trying to remember
I didn't even catch that.
where I've seen or heard that name before.
It's a movie.
Yeah. Okay.
It may be a book too, but I know it's a movie.
So I feel like that's or at least that was one of the clues that I noticed, that it was like, there might be something there, but we'll see.
Oh shit! Sorry, I just saw something else.
Yeah, so
in all the, oh god, yeah, it was in the cake. Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. I guess we can talk about it right now. So when Batman comes crashing in, the table with the cake gets pushed right over onto Joker, and a few panels later, Joker's cleaning off the cake, and there's a piece of Riddler's costume on it.
there you go.
Oh, look at that.
So you gotta really scan these panels, listeners. You gotta go deep with this.
I'm writing down all the notes. So far, we've got food inside food, piece of Riddler's costume in the cake, talented Mr. Ripley, and what's in the box. Was there any more?
I'm sure there is.
I'll have to go through it again.
Yeah.
What's even more interesting is the costume Riddler is wearing in the photos is not the same costume that Joker's taking off his suit. Huh. Okay. Yeah.
Guys,
I'm gonna lose my
readers,
mind.
listeners, Jesus. Listeners, we are going to do our damnedest to figure out the mystery that's in this book. Doesn't mean we're going to be right, but we tend to be, so
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Yeah.
8.5 out of 10 for me, man. I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Yeah, it's an 8.5 for me as well. This is going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, I gave this an 8.25. Just a really solid
Especially with
start.
Rosenberg doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But next up, we'll be going into the future, at least for a little bit, with Future State Gotham number 2. So this was brought to us by the writing team of Joshua Williamson and Dennis Culver, with art from Giannis Milogiannis and letters from Troy Peteri. So following up on the last issue's setup, Jason basically throws down with the Bat family as they accuse him of being a filthy, no-good traitor. After getting some assistance from some magistrate tech as things start to go south, Jason flees the scene, determined to pursue this new Batman and bring him to justice for killing innocent Gothamites during the attack last issue. After catching up with his mystery informant, who reveals himself to be none other than Bruce Wayne, in a reveal that I saw coming 5,000 miles away, Jason is still uncomfortable with his mission even after all this time and hates betraying his family. Bruce, however, reassures him of the importance of bringing down the magistrate. There's also some melodrama with the Bat family resistance about whether Dick was too hard on Jason that I won't really get into because it's kind of a tired trope at this point and boring. But Jason's hunt with some new assistance from Bruce takes him to Blackgate Penitentiary, where he meets the mysterious new Batman who claims his innocence. Only there's no time for debate or clarification, as all the prisoners the magistrate locked up have been freed from their cells, and they are hungry for some peacekeeper blood, which they are more than happy to take from our new weird dynamic duo. What did you guys think of this issue?
This is a cool story here. I mean, we knew it was Bruce Wayne that was talking to him from the shadows, but the dynamic going on here between Jason and basically all of Gotham is something that I am having fun with. The art is okay. I'm not a huge manga reader, but the art is okay. I just could go for something with a little more detail. But I mean, overall, I'll still give this one a 7.5.
Yeah, I really do see the manga style now. I don't
Yeah.
know how I missed it last time, but
It's really
like the
strong.
first panel is super strong.
Yeah.
There were some panels I found a little bit sketchy and a little less finished, but I can appreciate it more now that I see it. I think it works really well.
Oh, yeah.
I do find it really weird that we're getting 2 stories this week with Bruce and Jason just getting along. It's been so long of them just butting heads. If we're finally getting past that, I'm okay with it. But it's just weird right now.
It's about time is what it is.
Yeah.
Like Brandon was saying, this shit of it's a tired old trope at this point.
Well,
That's
it's just
why I
like
the
I've seen
progression
that.
of his character.
Yeah, I've seen that conversation in the Bat family of can we trust Jason? Can't we? Like
Too
a
many times.
million times, and it's like at this point, like I don't know, just get over yourselves, I guess. And then the Bruce Wayne reveal, like who else could it have been? Honestly,
Yeah.
Exactly.
is pretty obvious it was going to be him, and I knew even after Dark Detective he wasn't. There's no way he's going to die like that easily. because he's Batman and he can't die. Even in death, he can't stay dead.
Right.
Exactly.
You can get shot by Darkseid.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he'll travel through time and find his way back. But
Exactly.
That's Batman's superpower. That's Batman's superpower. It's not that he's rich; it's that he's too goddamn stubborn.
yeah. But yeah, I thought this issue did a solid job. It felt like there wasn't, I don't know, a ton of story, at least for me, and like, or maybe I don't know that I was all that interested. Like, it really didn't pick up for me until he finally makes his way to Blackgate, and then I'm kind of like, okay, I'm interested to see where this is going. But other than that, it was mostly just him dealing with the Bat family and them calling him a traitor and that whole thing. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I ended up giving this one a 7 out of 10. I still kind of like the artwork, though I definitely agree that there are some points where it could have used some more detail.
Yeah, I gave this an 8.5. I'm appreciating this a lot more now, and it'll be very curious to see how Jace works with Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because Jace is admittedly a little. He still won't kill, but he's a little bit more violent than Batman is.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll move on to our final book for this week before we get into our top 3, and that is Rorschach number 9.
Hey, you forgot my backup story.
Are we doing that? Isn't that just a reprint?
The Calvary?
Yeah.
Oh, is it a reprint? Well,
What's
damn it.
because that's Jace Batman. What's
Yeah,
that a
it's
reprint of?
it was in Batman Black and White number 4.
See, I didn't read any of the
Yeah.
black and whites.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, a gimmick that everyone's going to copy now, so I didn't even pick it up.
Oh yeah, no, because I think they're literally just reprinting old black and white stories. Like they had the Katsuhiro Otomo one in the last one, and now
Right,
they're doing
okay,
this one.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
All right, well, never mind then, Brandon.
Oh yeah, no, we're good. I mean, unless you wanted to, but
It's fine,
yeah, but yeah, we can go on to Rorschach.
for sure.
Okay, so yeah, next we'll be going on to our final book for this week, which is Rorschach number 9, and Rob, tell us all about it.
So we got on writing duties Tom King, with art by Jorge Fornes, colors from Dave Stewart, and letters by Clayton Cowles. So our detective is investigating the farm that our would-be anti-heroes lived for a time. Going through each room, he sees a story unfold, and upon reaching the last room, notices the carpet is a little bit off. He finds out this was hiding a huge blood stain, and surmises a body is on the property. He finds the body in the septic tank, and upon searching the body, he finds the man worked at the office for the re-election of President Redford. We do see a bit of backstory between the two, Rorschach and the kid, about this happening, and we'll see exactly how this mystery unfolds. But honestly, this is issue 9 of a 12-issue Tom King story. It's stretched out.
Yeah, you can feel it. You can definitely feel it.
I did enjoy this issue a bit more than at least the last couple. I gave this a 7 out of 10. Just for, the bit of there's a bit of story progression, but it's still really slow. And you get that a lot with Tom King these days. I do enjoy his writing, but it needs to be shrunk down a lot.
Yeah, like it works with the characters. I'm still invested in that, but yeah, I can definitely feel that the story is kind of like it's. I don't want to say it's at a snail's pace, but it's definitely kind of dragging a little bit. So I ended up giving this one an 8 out of 10 because I did enjoy it. It just I do wish that it would kind of pick up a little, but at this point in a 12-issue series, how much can you really do?
That's kind of where I'm at, but for a different reason. I do feel like the story is going a bit too slow and it's taking a bit too long. We're at issue number 9 before I felt like we got an actual Rorschach book. Up until now, it just felt like an old-fashioned sleuth detective book. And I think that it's much closer to being a Rorschach book, at least compared to the previous 8. And in the previous 8, there is definitely some hits and misses. This is a solid story. I'm not going to take it away from that, but I think it's also about 4 or 5 pages too long. At around page 21, I had to check and see how many pages were left. I guess even with as much dialogue and as many panels that we see in this book, I still expect more story from a. I still expect more from a story with this character, and I'm very worried at this point that I will not be happy with the conclusion of the story. I've been on the fence, but typically favorable with my scores this entire run, except in the very beginning. All I can say about this one is that the art looks good. It does feel like a Rorschach story, but I'm getting really average vibes from it. So I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Cool. All right. Well, with that out of the way, let's get into our top 3 books for this week and a standout moment if you have one. So, Josh, why don't you get us started?
Not a problem, man. Number 3. This was difficult. I had quite a few of them that were right on the same line of scoring. But my number 3 is going to go to Puzzle Box. Mm-hmm. I really can't tell you why I'm so pulled into this book, because ultimately it's just going to be frou-frou nonsense. But I'm pulled in. Here we are. And then number 2 is going to have to go to Urban Legends. It's jam-packed of goodness. The art is beautiful everywhere. The writing is fantastic. Do a little bit better job with Nightwing. Give us more, not a better job. The job is great. It just was not enough. But number 1, I'm going to have to give that to Justice League Last Ride. It's not only the best score I had here because the whole week was really close to call, but it was such an immense fun ride that was not included in part of a, I guess you would call it, anthology style type book, or at least one with backup. This one kicked ass, dude. And my favorite moment is going to be in Red Hood Teardrops. It's that panel of the Batmobile screaming down the street with Batman and the bat symbol saying, "Damn it, son." I thought that whole page was beautiful, emotional, and very well done.
All right, what about you, Rob?
Yeah, I also had a really hard time with this one. Okay, based on scoring, my number 3 is kind of tied, and if I can only pick one, I don't know which way to go between Joker or the Puzzle Box. And it's kind of funny that they're both Joker books. So I think that even gives it more of a reason to be a tie. They're both fantastic reads. They both scored the same for me. Yeah, it's hard to choose, but I might go towards Puzzle Box a bit more just because I love that level of mystery a little bit more. Number 2 is Last Ride. I'm so excited for this one. I think I said everything I can say during my review. It's just fantastic. And number 1 is Detective Comics. This has been a good story so far.
Oh, yeah.
The backups have been solid at times, some a little lacking than others, but compared to some other backups we've had, they've been better. My favorite moments, at first I was going to bring up the Joker bombs exploding, but honestly, that precinct blowing up in Detective Comics, that was just a beautiful splash page.
Yeah, I got to give you that, man. That was done fantastic.
Yeah, my top 3 books for this week. Definitely kind of hard to narrow down which ones I really was passionate about. But at number 3, I had Justice League Last Ride. Like I said, for me at least, it was kind of a step up from the last one where I was kind of like, I don't know how to feel about this, but now I definitely have some really good feelings about it. Number 2 was Joker. Number 4, just a really strong issue, even if the backup wasn't all that great. And then at number 1, I had a 2-way tie between Detective Comics 1037 and Batman Urban Legends, which I think has just been really delivering on, maybe not every single story in the anthology is great, but they provide a lot usually for so much going on. So I think that's pretty good. So yeah, that was definitely how I felt. And then my standout moment, which I mentioned earlier, would have gone to the panel of Darkseid appearing on Oa, but I'll give it instead to the Grifter story where Zealot first appears and she's kind of standing with the sword out, and that was pretty cool.
They did a great job of that too, didn't they?
Yeah.
She looks awesome.
I'll say. But while that was fun, we have something even more fun. You know what it's time for? It's time for...
Oh, that's nasty.
So, which title made your stink list today, guys?
This sucks.
I think it was the same for all of us, maybe?
Maybe? I don't know.
Dude, the regular story would do so well if it didn't have that backup attached
Oh, no.
to it. It
I was
is
wrong.
a very bad decision, and it does not make sense. My biggest stinker is Wonder Woman.
Mm.
And I'm mad about that. Wonder Woman shouldn't be on my stinker list.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's not mine though. Mine's Rorschach this week. It's just everything else had a bit more fun to it, and this was just dragging.
Oh yeah, I guess we're all different this week. Mine was actually Future State Gotham #2. I
shit.
I thought it was kind of, I don't know, like it wasn't terrible in any way. It was just kind of lackluster. Where, I mean, it really didn't pick up any interest until the end, really, and everything else was just kind of like melodrama we'd already seen before and kind of lackluster story beats. So yeah, just not a ton there for me at least. But guess that's how it is.
That's how it is.
Yep.
That's how the toilet paper holder rolls.
I suppose so.
But if you do it, make sure it goes over the river, not under the bridge.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's the show. We hope you had fun. We definitely did. Come back next week for more DC Comics talk when we'll be reviewing Flash 771, Nightwing 81, Justice League #63, Catwoman #32, Infinite Frontier, Secret Files #5, and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow #1. We'll be here talking comics, and we hope you'll stop by. Remember to go to notarobotpodcast.com for all of our episodes and our other shows with all sorts of people. And with that, there's only one way that we say goodbye around here. Until next time.
Be good to each other.
And don't be a robot.